What I have here is the 3 shell types that are available for artillery in the game. I'm forgetting one, of course, the high explosive rocket. So yeah, here are the 4 types of artillery that we have used when we were doing our thing with the artillery. Provided, we have done things like 15 of the 150 millimeters, which I guess for simplicity we can just do 15 times 9. 15 times 900. That's how many damage bits we're sending out each time we click the button. We've done 13,500 before. For the high explosive rockets, I think the most that we've done it'd be 16 times 300. And then how many trucks did we ever do in the mass? I think the most was 30. So that amount in a volley. That much in a volley. And for 120s, we kind of didn't really use those a whole lot, but I think we've, when we were on that bridge in Jade Cove that one war, I think we were shooting like 8 of them, so every time you click the button, you can have like that much. Of course, these aren't really good comparisons because some things are DPM and some things are kind of like a one-shot thing, but provided we had the 4 Tempest cannons, it would have been a damage thing of 6,000. Every time you click the button. But yeah, these numbers aren't really that good, so we ought to combine them into something that is more reasonable. I mean, like for 120 millimeter shells, I think if we were to get the reload speed, we can get the DPM. I don't even know if the reload speed is on a thing like this. 6.2 seconds. So you shoot the one, and then you have this amount of reload time, so +1 because of that first one that you shoot. That's how many shells you can shoot in a minute, and then we shot 8 of them, so we're shooting like 86 shells, let's say. 86 shells in a minute. 3 there times, no. Oh, I've forgotten the number. I think it was 68, right? Whoops, that sucks. Divided by 6.2 plus 1, and then times 8. There we are. 86. Whoops, okay. 86 shells. And we multiply that 86 number times the 400, which is for each shell's damage. The DPM that we were able to accomplish was that number. And with the 150s, when we had 15 of them, the reload speed on that is .5 plus the 2 that we would have in the chamber. So +2, you can shoot 9 a second, and then times 15 is how many we were shooting. 135 shells times the 900, which is the shell's damage. So in that volley, we would shoot something like, we would do a DPM of this number. Right. So less than the rockets, but quite a sizable amount of damage. Really big damage. Now if we were to do the same thing with the 300 millimeter, what's the reload speed on that? I didn't seem to see what the, oh, there it is, 6 seconds. So 10 seconds, 10 shots in a thing, and then let's assume that there's the two, the one in the gun and the one in the chamber. So let's say 12. There's 4 of them, and each one does 1500 damage. So this is the DPM that we get with that. So yeah, it's less than the rockets, less than the 150s. But the major port, two of the major things that we have going for it is that the setup for doing a thing like that is very, very, very quick and not as taxing as would be setting up a thing like 30x rocket trucks or 8 120s or 15 150s. Dealing with only 4 pieces is actually a lot easier because you need it just requires less of the setup, and there's a lot less stress that's involved towards that end. The only thing you have to do is assess what the rail system is like, where you'd like to go, and then make the rail, branch it off to the firing position, and then you just send in 2 trains. The first one has the loadout, which will allow you to shoot the volley, and the second one has the Tempest cannon itself. With the loadout on the train that we would have gone for, it would have been a loadout that was 12 cars, of course. 4 of which would be the fuel trucks of enriched oil, allowing for 25 shots per gun. And then it would have been 8 Logi trucks. 4 Logi trucks with 10 shells. 4 Logi trucks with 15 shells. It'd be a 2-stepper where we brought in the logistics trucks and then the logistics train, and then just dump all of these vehicles onto the ground using a crane. And then once the train is unloaded, we just get it out of there, and then we send in the Tempest cannon train, which would have the artillery pieces. So if you can imagine that this is like the block of the Tempest cannons in a line, a straight line, single rail, then you'd have the fuel trucks corresponding to each of the Tempest cannons to be able to refuel every shot. And then on the other side, you would drive up the 8 trucks and then deposit the 25 shells as you see fit. Yeah, either like 15 at a time and then the other 10. Yeah, so step 1 is bring the supply train. Step 2 is bring the Tempest cannons. Probably like pre-align the logistics trucks and the fuel trucks, and then you'd shoot 100 shells as your allotment. You know, dealing because it's 12 shots in a minute that these things can shoot, so it's like 2 minutes that it would take to shoot it. 120 seconds of firing time. You know, dealing this amount of damage at the target. Yeah, and that's a big amount of damage. But yeah, it's just that the workload would be a completely different, considerable less setup than the rockets. The same thing with the 150s. The only thing is so it's like it is work, but it's spaced out because you're able to set up the tracks beforehand and kind of like assess which target you can even shoot, and you can go anywhere on the map really. There you're not inhibited by anything, water access or anything. It's all via rails. So we do these little sorties. This like sortie system. I believe that's the way you spell sortie. Sortie is IE. That's why, yeah. Yeah, so we'd almost play on the front line, really. And just keep an eyeball out for, we could probably swing the Tempest cannons around. Shoot 100 shells. Kill the strategic objectives. I have the math up here for the structure HPs. You know, things like a tier 2 bunker base. You know, there'd be this number is the core's HP, and then you'd be, you know, it would not be greater than the sum of 6 of the parts, so it'd just be 2,000 times 6 to get the HP of a bunker base core. That's what it is, 1,200. And we'd be shooting about like 10 times that. As an example, the relic bases have the quality where they are needing only 16 to hit to one-shot it, or 14 or 13 depending on what type it is. Town bases might be a different story, but we would have tried it all the same, just for fun. Shooting 100 shells in 120 seconds. You know, get our sea legs with the sortie system and then upgrade to something better. Yeah, we would have been able to destroy a lot of things, and the numbers don't really speak for themselves. It might be worth our while to do like 150s or rockets on paper. That's how it is. But the critical element is the range that we have to use when we use the Tempest cannons as opposed to using the rocket artillery in the 150s. So this is the, oh my. This is the foxhole stats. This is how the war's progressing right now. Yeah, the frontline splintered pens, we'd have to hit this target 16 times. So there's this rangefinder that's available here. If we wanted to use 120s against splinter pens, that's the type of range we'd be dealing with, having to set up something substantial with that. If we wanted to use rocket trucks, then the setup would involve something like that. But we would have the Tempest cannons, so it would be a setup like this. where we would be able to exist right here where this mouse cursor is right now and shoot across the hex border, exist for 120 seconds, and then get out of there. Yeah, so it'd be kind of like a fun thing where we send in the two trains. We make the rail to the spot, we send in the first train, and we're always like vigilant, kind of like eyeing the train, what's going on here, and if everything seems kosher, we haven't seen anything that is out of the ordinary, then we'd bring up Dora and yeah, we just kill splinter pens, and then just double back to Great March, reload, either call it quits for the day or go out again. We'd be hunting for targets to destroy. Anything's within our grasp. Yeah. So it would have been 500 meters as opposed to 350. But these numbers don't really mean a whole lot of stuff. The principal thing that it does mean is that the time to set up and the stress involved is low. The time to set up is low. The investment to set up is low. The stress that's involved is low because we're so far away from the enemy. And I think that the impact that we're able to carry out is likewise higher. Because when it comes to the 300 millimeter, I'm fairly certain that the splash radius on the thing is full damage is 4.5 meters. Doesn't say what the, oh it is, yeah, 15 meters. Yeah, so the dispersion is probably a lot higher, of course, but yeah, these things I think it would have worked out. Granted, I've never even shot a storm cannon before, so I think I did once, but yeah, it'd be a new thing for me, big time. Out of curiosity's sake, if this is 15 meters, then I think 150 is like 12 meters. Yeah, 11.25 versus 15. Yeah, so it's a little bit greater. Yeah. So less time to set up, less investment in our setup, less time spent at the setup, less people actively engaged in the principal activity of shooting, thereby freeing up others to do the auxiliary, and a real brain dead setup. Yeah, that would have been pretty slick. And the setup for choosing like the spots to shoot, it's along these lines, of course, but yeah, you can see the type of impact that we could have figured out. So we were in Great March. We'd send the train over to Allode's Bite here, and we could have gone like through Silk Farms and then into First March, and then on the south of this cliff we could have shot belaying trace. You only need to hit these things 16 times to take them out. Yeah, so either we'd roll up to Turncoat perhaps, or better yet, perhaps just shoot from Grave Resteros on this west side. Or, Mercy's Whale. It's like another choice. Be a lot more straightforward. We just roll up to Turncoat and then shoot at Mercy's Whale. If let's say there's like a tier 2 bunker base that they've set up, why not? Just roll up and kill that. Shoot from this red line. Yeah, Umbral Wildwood, kick him back out of Umbral Wildwood, take out the Stray, just roll up right to Clothar's Refuge. I mean, I remember that there's a rail line that goes right up to here. So, we just roll up with Dora and shoot at across the river, take out the Stray, double back and reload. Salt Farms. We could have drove up to this spot, up to this red line, which is well within AI, I should think. People typically build friendlies typically build bunker bases here. They're usually observation things, but of course, the principal element of us only being existing there for 120 seconds. You'd probably look for qualifications. Like if our border bases were on the enemy side and we were trying to advance towards salt farms, then we would bigly assist with that. The taking of salt farms. We could the Fairmore, roll into Lockmore through the south, through the Heartlands and up north, right to the northwest of Relfort and take out Fairmore. Yeah, it's not so much the big damage, because you're able to do big damage with the rocket setup. It's just that you kind of need like 10 people to shoot, to shoot 30 rocket trucks. You need a lot of people to pull it off, and the big production is taxing. Big setup, big production. Whereas everything would be a lot more streamlined, provided we had the 4 Tempest cannons. Plus, they sound really cool. There's this one element that people talk about. I don't really care too much about this element, but if like Alod's Bite is completely Q-maxed, then we can just shoot from Shackled Chasm, and we wouldn't even be taking up any Q slots, but we'd be impacting the battlefield quite considerably. Yeah, you know, what if we just kicked them all the way out of Deadlands and we rolled up the Tempest cannons to shoot at their storm cannons that are right here, right across the border. Yeah, this like more or less like around here. Of course, the qualifications would be like we've taken Liberation Point in AW and we're attacking the spine or something like that. Or better yet, just shoot Fort Duncan itself. We'd want to use these in conjunction with the main front line. That'd be another qualifier criteria. Yeah, but there's really nothing to stopping us from going all over the map and just blowing up these things. Just doing our checklist, getting a radio and seeing what the conditions look like on the map, and then seeing what it looks like in person, and just setting up the rail. POW to Pecan and an LUV, 2 people. A quick job of it. Yeah. Yeah, it's just that the 150 additional meters is big. It's humongous. It matters so much. Like one of the, we had a, you know, questionable effect with the Hades nets. We had effect, but the where we were shooting with the Hades nets is with that additional 75 meters from the Hades nets, it made us feel really safe when doing it. Like we didn't think anybody was going to bug us. It would have been very hard for the enemy to do it. This was what we were shooting with the Hades nets at that marker. Yeah, I think we were like right at the mouse marker, right mouse right there. So provided we had the Tempest cannons, it would have just been even easier to hit the same radius. Like we tried to hit a bunker base right here or whatever. We could have even set up with the Tempest cannons. Yeah, like way back there. Of course, the thing was off, but yeah, we were shooting like right there. That's where the Hades nets were, and then Tempest cannons would have allowed us to even go even further into safety. Like right there, or something like that. And shoot the pits in that bunker base that we killed. And then just roll up and shoot AW from this marker, Like right there. And the whole shebang. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it would have been a really interesting experience. The primary idea of like artillery is staying away from the enemy and staying away from your teammates on the front line, like existing, but not, the people not really knowing that you're there. You're shooting over everybody's heads, and this would have been like the immaculate example of that. 150 meters range, more than what we were used to using with like the rocket trucks and whatnot. Yeah, it would have been so cool. Yep. Yeah, completely different way of thinking. Still wouldn't have been able to take out safe houses, oddly enough, hilariously enough, which is kind of funny in its own way. Yeah, so the minus would be that we wouldn't be able to take out safe houses. But the pluses is that we wouldn't be constricted to the deadlands. We'd be able to go to the spot where it would be best used, like whether it be Lockmore or the Deadlands or the Drowned Vale or Allode's Bite or the Fingers. Oh yeah, let's look at the Fingers. Like what would happen over here? We could shoot from the border, Plank House, likely, or Headsman Villa, more so. Yeah, these things, big time. Whether it's the Fingers or Allode's Bite or the Drowned Vale, Deadlands, Lockmore, King's Cage or Fahrenheit Coast, everything's accessible with the rails, and it's a very simple thing to send trains out. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so as opposed to being just constricted to the Deadlands and forcing it to work, we could really be the deciders as to which place would use it best. And it makes sense to do it in this way, have the most impact on the battlefield by going the exact place. Like, if I was it, we would knock them right out of Umbra Wildwood, out of the Stray, first thing. Get them away from the heart, and then process Splinter Pens, try to like East March and the Wash and this that, and that'd be a nice buffer. And then we could consider other places too if like the target's really asking for it. Be it a bunker base or town base or relic. That's why we ought to have went for it. The Tempest cannon with the 300 millimeter shell. It's just that range and that completely different playstyle. That would have been worth every penny, big time. When it comes to the distance, it's 500 on paper, but provided it's a T5 wind, because every tier of wind pushes the 300 millimeter shell 25 meters, it'd be 620. In the most ideal circumstance, it'd be 625 meters. Yeah, where yeah, you'd be able to shoot even further. Just forget about it. You know, just forget about it. Hmm. So here as opposed to here, it's like a stupid amount of range and the mobility to boot. The perfect combo. It doesn't get better than that. And we almost had four of them. We almost had four of them. Our team was having a lot of problem with the spit rocks, so we could just roll up to it. Storm cannons, they're not going to be dialed into this spot. No way, and they wouldn't be able to react to us when we shoot in 120. We leave in 120 seconds. Their only notice of us is 120 seconds of pain. and perhaps more, depending. There's no way they could react to it with the spotting program. Everything would have really come together nicely in a nice little bow. Oh yeah, Lockheed, take back Lockheed. How hard would that have been? Wow, shooting it from the Sol caps. We would have had to be at the Sol caps to shoot Lockheed. What about taking Sol caps? We would have had to been yeah, perhaps that would have been a little bit more difficult. Maybe we'd shoot it from here. I don't know. Maybe we would shoot it from here. Rolling up to the Sol caps. Like we had Singing Serpents and we just have to go across this rail bridge and then shoot at Sol caps. Yeah, everything just becomes like a methodical thing. Just go where our front line is established the most and then just crack the nut and then just watch the floodgates of our teammates kind of exploit the opening. It would have been a big difference as opposed to the Deadlands where we were just kind of like forcing it. You know, sometimes we'd shoot for a C boot, but our team would be an AW. We got a little bit better at that. We'd go for AW while our teammates go for C boot, AW as well. But yeah, a damn shame. That's why we ought to have put our effort into these things. It would have been worth it. Big fun.